Before you get into this story, tell me, do you believe in poetic justice? If money can't buy happiness, can it buy redemption and revenge? Do you believe it's sweet? If your answer is yes, then get ready. Your favorite vengeance is about to begin. Huck here will tell you. And no, we're not going to hide anything. Leave a like and subscribe, because you won't want to miss this ending. 6 billion euros, and yet she chose to walk away. The voice of John Martin pierced the quiet of his penthouse office. Forbes magazine was open on his desk, his face on the cover, his empire stretching across the New York skyline through expansive windows. He traced the word billionaire beneath his photograph, recalling Sarah's words about how wealth could never buy true happiness. The intercom crackled loudly. His stylist had arrived with options for his wedding suit. "Send them away!" John adjusted his watch, catching a glimpse of himself in the glass. At 42, he barely recognized the man in the mirror. Hardened scars, toughened eyes, and a smile that had long since faded since Sarah left 6 years ago. The door opened, revealing not the stylist, but Victoria Kane, his supermodel fiancée, who entered with confidence and threw a cream-colored envelope on his desk. "Darling, can you explain why your ex-wife is included on our wedding guest list?" John snatched the invitation. Sarah's name, elegantly inscribed in shimmering gold calligraphy. Revenge is most satisfying when paraded before an audience of 500 and captured by a team of fashion photographers. "Are you trying to shame her?" Victoria's crimson lips formed a captivating, delightfully mischievous smile. "She left when my tech dream was just an incipient company in my garage." John stood from his seat and walked to the window. "She said I would never understand what's truly important in life. Now I have a net worth of 8 billion euros, and I'm about to marry the country's most followed influencer. And she," he smirked slyly, "still teaches at that quaint elementary school. So let's show her exactly what she missed." Victoria hugged him tightly. "Let her be a witness to my transformation into the new Mrs. Martin." John grabbed his phone. His thumb rested over Sarah's contact, the number he had never deleted. "I think I'll deliver this invitation myself. It's time to remind her that leaving was her biggest mistake." His finger pressed the call button, and for the first time in 6 years, Sarah's voice resonated in his ear. "Hello? Hello, Sarah. It's time for a conversation." If he only had realized that revenge, much like a script, is rarely executed as planned. And his meticulous humiliation was about to fail spectacularly, delivering 3 revelations that would forever alter the fabric of his existence. Don't forget to show your support with a like and a subscription. Let's get to the story. The residential neighborhood looked exactly as John remembered it. Sarah's modest 2-story house was distinguished by its vibrant blue door and abundant flower boxes brimming with blossoms. Just like her, he thought, as he shut off the engine of his Tesla and sat there, the wedding invitation burning through the fabric of his Armani jacket. A child's bicycle lay on the front lawn. He found it odd. Sarah had never brought up wanting to have children. The sound of the doorbell was the same. John adjusted his tie, rehearsed his smile, and waited. "Coming?" Sarah's voice resonated from within. Then the door opened, and there she was, with an irritatingly perfect charm. Her hair had been cut, but her eyes retained the same welcoming warmth that he once found absolutely captivating. "It's you, John." She blinked with a look of genuine surprise. "What brings you by?" "Hello, Sarah." He held out the cream-colored envelope. "It's a special delivery." She accepted it, a look of discomfort evident on her face. "You traveled all this distance to hand-deliver this?" Her voice faded softly as she read the invitation. "In just 3 weeks, you're getting married." He couldn't resist mentioning. "To Victoria Kane. You may know her from her social media, with 3 million followers." Sarah's expression didn't show the satisfaction he had anticipated. Instead, she looked on with a hint of concern. "Congratulations," she commented thoughtfully. "What's the reason for my invitation? Could it not be from an old friend?" A sudden crash resonated from within the house, quickly followed by the sound of children's laughter. Sarah's head snapped to the side. "Kids, what did I tell you about playing ball inside?" "Sorry, Mom." Several voices responded in unison. "Kids," he repeated, as in plural. John attempted to glimpse the inside of the house, but Sarah moved, obstructing his view. "Thank you for the invitation," she said with conviction. "I'll consider it. Who are they?" He gestured in the direction of the sound. "My children." Her response was brief. "Children," he repeated, as in multiple. Sarah's stance in the doorway intensified. "It was a pleasure to see you, John. My sincere congratulations once again on your engagement." The door closed before he had the opportunity to grasp what she had just said. 3 boys. What was the sound of their voices? The meaning of their names? Once inside his car, John pulled out his phone and calculated the numbers. 6 years had passed since Sarah left. When had she become pregnant? "No," he murmured. "She would have told me." However, as he drove away, a haunting uncertainty lingered. Sarah's expression had conveyed more than a mere concern as she read his invitation. It seemed to be filled with fear. John Martin had not built a tech empire by ignoring his intuition. What would you do if you suddenly discovered you have 3 children? Would you seek them out? Leave your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. The revelation emerges. "Mom, is she gone?" Michael peeked around the corner as Sarah leaned against the closed door. She nodded, clutching the invitation with such intensity that it crumpled in her hand. "Go back to what you were doing, darling." However, the 3 boys had already gathered in the hallway, their matching blue eyes mirroring his, filled with curiosity. "Who was that person?" Thomas asked. "Just someone from my past." Sarah made her way. "David, weren't you preparing for that math test? Could he have been our dad?" David, always the keen observer, grasped the true essence of the question. Sarah sat down on the stairs. Her sons quickly gathered around her like vigilant guardians. 6 years of meticulous planning of raising her intimate universe in jeopardy from a single imprudent visit. "Yes," she finally confessed. "That was your father. Does he know of our existence?" Michael's voice was just a whisper. "Not yet." Sarah hugged them tightly. But he might discover the truth in no time. Her phone vibrated. A message from her sister Clara. "Urgent situation. Call me." Sarah already knew the subject without needing to dial. Clara worked in the public relations department of Technovision. The word spread quickly. "Kids, it's time to start your homework. I have to make a call." In her cozy home office, filled with the scattered papers of her 4th grade students, Sarah picked up the phone to call Clara. Before Clara could respond, Sarah interjected. "He came to my house with a wedding invitation." "I know. He's been openly sharing his intentions to sink you throughout the office. Sarah, it is essential that you tell them." "I already know," Sarah observed from the window as her sons played soccer in the backyard. "I'm just saying they seem happy, Clara. We're full of joy. John is getting married. Why complicate things at this moment? He invited you to his wedding only to show you up, and then you show up with 3 perfect little princes of life. Who says I'm going? Sarah Thompson, you have been raising those boys alone for 6 years, justifying their father's absence, juggling 2 jobs to give them everything they need, and now he seeks to demonstrate how much better he is without you." Sarah watched as Thomas helped David up after a fall, while Michael rushed over with a bandage in his hand from his pocket, always ready, exactly as she had instilled in them. "Yes," she acknowledged at last, "but I refuse to allow them to cause him harm. Absolutely not. But perhaps, Clara reflected. Perhaps they have the right to meet their father. Perhaps he has the right to discover those truths. Once the call ended, Sarah noticed that the boys had left their soccer game and were gathered around her laptop. "Mom!" Michael shouted. Could he be him? Who is John Martin, the CEO of Technovision? On the screen, it showed a Forbes article highlighting New York's most coveted bachelor who is about to get married. Sarah looked at her sons, noticing their father's hair, his eyes, and his resolute chin, and decided to take action. "Get your suits ready, boys. We're going to a wedding." The invitation rested tantalizingly on her desk. John Martin and Victoria Kane cordially invite you to join them. Sarah allowed a subtle smile to form on her lips. They had no idea about the company they were about to have. Later that night, once the boys were asleep, Sarah found herself in her cozy studio looking at 3 identical birth certificates. John's name shone in its absence, a decision made in a hospital room 6 years prior when he failed to respond to her calls about her premature delivery. His assistant explained that he had been in a board meeting. Nothing could break his focus. She grabbed her phone, navigating through the images. Their first steps, first words, first day of school. Michael guiding his brothers in every endeavor. Thomas's imaginative whirlwind. David's serene perceptiveness. 6 years of moments that had escaped John without his noticing. The wedding invitation shimmered in the moonlight, its elegant gold calligraphy. Today, Sarah recalled John's expression. Successful, polished, and distant. So different from the man who once spent 3 sleepless nights coding his initial project, side by side, who had kissed her in the rain after their first investors' meeting, who had promised to give her everything, but who missed his place in everything. Her phone vibrated once more. Clara shared the wedding details, the seating arrangement, and the guest lists. The meticulously crafted revenge that John had envisioned was about to transform into his most profound revelation. Sarah looked at a recent photo of the boys, all 3 of them smiling after their victory at the school's science fair. "It's time you met your father," she murmured softly. "Whether he's prepared or not, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe." "Mom, Michael's hogging the mirror again," Thomas shouted from the hallway. Not true. It was David who spent 20 minutes perfecting his hair. Amidst the morning chaos, Sarah expertly balanced 3 identical lunchboxes, showing her knack for multitasking. "Kids, the bus will be here in 10 minutes. The triplets clattered down the stairs in their impeccable school uniforms, their backpacks bouncing with each hurried step. At 10 years old, they already revealed unique personalities, although they looked alike. Michael, the oldest by just 4 minutes, adjusted his brother's ties with a careful eye. "Thomas, yours is crooked. Stop bugging us," Thomas grumbled. However, he allowed Michael to handle it anyway. David, the youngest, found himself lost among the pages of a book. "Did you notice that when it started, Dad's company had no value?" Sarah nearly dropped the lunchboxes. "Where did you find that information?" "The web." David held up his tablet. "He created it completely on his own, just as you constantly encourage us to approach our projects." Since John's visit 3 days prior, the boys had developed an intense fascination with their father. Sarah discovered them searching for him incessantly online, engrossed in his TED Talks, and deepening their knowledge of technology. "Mom?" Michael asked cautiously. "Why didn't you tell him about us?" Sarah placed the lunchboxes on the table. "Darling, We're not children, Mom," Thomas insisted. "We can handle complexity." She looked at their earnest expressions, reminiscent of their father's, when he was confronted with a particularly difficult coding challenge. "Your father dedicated much of his attention to his business during our time together. He would work 18 hours a day, sacrificing vacations and anniversaries. However, now he's successful," David pointed out. Success has varied meanings for each person. Sarah inspected their backpacks. I longed for a family. His ambition was to build an empire, and now he's getting married, Michael commented softly. To a person named Victoria Kane, Thomas added. She has a captivating smile, David commented. Sarah found herself unable to contain her laughter. You were checking out your father's fiancée, boys. They possessed a graceful remorse. We were just curious, Michael defended, about our other family. The sound of the school bus honked outside. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if the story of this family moves you, and share your thoughts. I want to know your opinion. Is she perpetually so theatrical? Thomas shouted to his brothers. His voice rose so everyone could hear. David laughed softly, hidden behind the pages of his book. Even Sarah found it difficult to contain a smile. Victoria's cheeks turned a deep crimson. I need some time to reflect. She turned abruptly and walked out, nearly colliding with Patricia Pierce, the attorney from Technovision, who hurried in with a stack of documents. John, it's essential that we have a conversation about succession planning, trust funds, and any potential shareholder concerns. Everyone out, John ordered, his authoritative tone cutting through the confusion. Everyone, except the boys and Sarah. The room emptied with a sense of hesitation. Silence enveloped the room once more, as John watched his sons with an unhindered attention. Michael, the guardian figure. Thomas, the audacious soul. David, the silent observer. 6 years of memories he would never experience. Finally, he announced that the wedding is in 2 weeks. I must overcome this. Sarah rose. Absolutely. Kids, say goodbye to your dad. That word hit him with the force of a tangible impact. Michael took the lead, extending his hand with a formal gesture. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Thomas commented casually on the brilliance of his coding architecture for Technovision's core platform. David simply nodded, gripping his book more tightly. As they left, John called out to them. Wait, what do you all like best? Everything. I desire to uncover all knowledge. Sarah hesitated at the threshold. How about you come by tomorrow? We can have a meaningful conversation, all of us. John nodded. His voice choked in his throat. Once they were gone, he remained alone in the room, looking at his own reflection in the window. 3 boys. 3 exceptional, radiant boys who had matured in his absence, as he had been too consumed by his empire to recognize what he was sacrificing. His phone vibrated with a sudden hum. Messages poured in. Victoria. The wedding. Love. I need some distance. Tony. The board meeting is scheduled for 8, handling a crisis. Clara. Prominent tech publications are covering the story. A statement is necessary. Patricia. The initial trust documents have been prepared. A rapid assessment is necessary. However, there was one that made his hands tremble. Sarah. The kids would like you to come and see their science fair projects tomorrow. For the first time in his life, John Martin found himself without a plan, a strategy, or a clear direction ahead. And somehow that filled him with less dread than the idea of losing his children once more. Are they asleep? Sarah commented, stepping out onto the back porch to join John. It had been a week since the rehearsal dinner. They're amazing, John murmured, still reflecting on the night he had enjoyed playing board games with his sons. Michael beat me at chess. He surpasses all his opponents at chess. Thomas gained unauthorized access to my phone. He does that, and David still hasn't put down that quantum physics book I gave him. Sarah smiled with delight. Undoubtedly, those are your children. John looked in her direction. Why didn't you inform me? The real reason. Sarah remained silent. Her gaze was fixed on the shimmering fireflies dancing in their picturesque garden. Do you recall the week prior to my departure? I was finalizing the funding round. I tried to express that I wasn't feeling well. 3 times. You engaged in conference calls at every turn. On the morning I discovered I was expecting, you were preparing for that important presentation. You said, and I quote, "Nothing can divert my attention today. The trajectory of technological innovation depends on this." You desired for the technological vision to be your pride and joy, the mark I will leave behind. She turned to face him. I made a decision. Was it your little one or ours? That seems unfair. Absolutely not. Nor to you or them. However, I found myself unwell, full of fear. And watching my husband prioritize his work over our relationship day after day, John sank into his chair. A heavy weight of fatigue came over him. I had turned into a monster. Would you have? Speak the truth, John. If I had told you that at the time, how would you have reacted? He reflected on his past, on the younger version of himself, obsessed with conquest, resolute in his pursuit of defying all skeptics. I'm unsure. I know. You would have thrown money at the problem, established trust funds, hired nannies, and arranged periodic visits in between board meetings. What they truly needed was a caregiver, not a financial strategist. What comes next? At this moment, why don't you pose the question to them? Sarah rose. For your information, they are not asleep. They may be listening to us right outside the door at this very moment. 3 unmistakable knocks, followed by the sound of a scuffle, solidified her suspicion. John found himself unable to contain his laughter. Undoubtedly, those are my children. Yes, Sarah replied softly. Yes, they are. Just as John was about to respond, his phone vibrated. Victoria's name illuminated the screen. Sarah observed. That must be answered. It seems you have a few options ahead of you. He remained on the porch, fixed on his phone, lost in contemplation of what he would leave behind, what he created, and what he almost let slip away. Inside, the boys' voices floated through the open window, filled with conversations about tomorrow's plans, their aspirations, and their wonder about him. Each word felt like a precious offering that he craved, but felt unworthy of receiving. The board could afford to be patient. The investors could choose to be patient. The empire was in no hurry. At this moment, John Martin found himself with 3 whole lifetimes of experiences to reconcile. Don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. Mr. Martin, the board meeting begins in 10 minutes. John's assistant relayed over the phone. Cancel it. But sir, the quarterly projections. Tony is more than capable of handling that. I'm inviting my sons out for lunch. John concluded the call, his gaze fixed on the elementary school entrance through the windshield of his Tesla. 3 identical figures hopped down the steps, their faces lit up at the sight of his car. Line up! Thomas shouted. Absolutely not, Michael exclaimed. I'm the oldest by just 4 minutes. David settled quietly into the back seat, his attention completely absorbed in a book. Everyone gets a turn, John declared. He was still amazed at how effortless this seemed after just 2 weeks. Michael today, Thomas tomorrow, David the day after. They agreed. At the burger joint they had selected, John watched them devour their meals, bombarding him with questions. Is it true you wrote your first program at 8? Thomas asked, his cheeks full of French fries. 7, actually. Simple game. Mom said you 2 met at a tech conference, Michael mentioned. John smiled as he recalled it. She completely dismantled my presentation. Are you still planning to get married? David's soft question lingered in the air. John placed his burger down. Victoria and I are taking some time apart due to our situation. It's not love? Michael's voice was just a whisper. No, John asserted with conviction. As I must determine my priorities. Thomas pointed out that this was the reason for their previous separation, as their mother had said. His phone vibrated, signaling that the board meeting was descending into chaos. Another turmoil, a victory that sought clarity. A third of the shareholders were threatening to withdraw their investments. John silenced everyone around him. Upon returning to the office, Patricia confronted him. "The investors are in a frenzy. The arrival of your sons reshapes the entire landscape, influencing succession strategies and share allocation." "Well," John interjected, "prepare the documents, divide my shares equally among them. That represents the 40% of Technovision." Tony emerged unexpectedly, expressing his objections. "The board will not. The board has no options." John's voice was unyielding. "And while you're at it, establish trust funds, top-tier institutions, limited possibilities." In the bustling hallways of the public school, Sarah's voice captured everyone's attention. She stopped in the threshold of her office, her arms defiantly crossed. "They will stay there, Sarah. I can provide that. What they need is a father, John, not a financial institution." That night, isolated in his penthouse, John looked at his reflection. The billionaire CEO looked over his shoulder, radiating success and power, but feeling completely adrift. His phone lit up with notifications. "Victoria, we need to discuss our relationship. Attention, there will be an emergency board meeting tomorrow. Tony, shares continue to dwindle by 20%. Sarah, the kids are asking if you'll attend David's science presentation." The old John would have focused on managing the fallout, the market values, and the legacy he created. As he drafted his response to Sarah, expressing his enthusiasm, John Martin realized that he had transformed into someone completely different. Behind him, the city skyline gleamed. Technovision's logo cast a glow on the night. He created that, abdicating everything for its sake. It was time to create again. Make sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. "Mr. Martin, your prompt attention to these documents is required." John's lawyer spread documents on the desk of his home office. John glanced at the first page. Financial support for his sons. Typical protocol in circumstances of wealth. Separate funds were established for each child, available to them at the age of 20. Make it 21. John looked at the framed photo he had placed on his desk. The kids at their science fair display are responsible children. The lawyer carefully repositioned his glasses. "Given the amount, I have confidence in them." John observed the way Michael's protective spirit shone in the photo. He noticed Thomas's creative ideas and appreciated David's subtle yet profound wisdom. "They surpassed me at that age." Additional documents surfaced regarding the company's shares. "Divided equally among them, Mr. Martin." Victoria's voice pierced the air. She stopped in the doorway, serene, but filled with fury. "Yes, it's true. You are actually going to let go of your legacy?" The lawyer gathered his documents. "I'll ensure they are processed without delay." Once she was alone, Victoria searched for one of the trust documents. So, billions in assets? Are they just unknown faces connected by the same genetic thread? She threw the paper aside. "I received a call from the board. They think you're going through some kind of crisis?" John approached his window, watching the Technovision logo illuminate the skyline. "Is it because I'm embracing fatherhood? You're tearing down everything you created?" Victoria's composure unraveled. "The John I knew, the John you knew, had no substance." He turned to meet her gaze. "The John you knew measured his worth through stock prices and acquisition deals. What's next? I currently value it through science projects and football games. In Michael's chess strategies, in Thomas's coding brilliance, and in David's curiosity about the universe." The device vibrated with a sudden alert. Sarah shared a video of the kids rehearsing their science presentation. Victoria watched him intently. "You have truly transformed. I trust that it is for the better." She took off her engagement ring and left it on his desk. It's better that these kids prove their worth. Once she was gone, John contacted Sarah. "Is the kid still up? Trying to manipulate the academic evaluation process," Sarah reported. Inform Thomas that it lacks ethical integrity. Sarah laughed softly. Pass the message along directly. Are you still planning to join us for dinner? John looked at his desk, filled with trust documents, company documents, and decisions about wealth, influence, and legacy. Everything was inconsequential. He wouldn't miss it for anything in the world. As the story progressed, John watched his sons arguing over a coding problem and realized something. The empire he had built, the billions he had amassed, were nothing more than digits that displayed on a screen. However, these three boys who shared his passion for innovation and his drive for excellence, yet somehow possessed Sarah's heart and wisdom. This was his true legacy. Once again, his phone vibrated with a notification. A new turmoil arose at Technovision, another board member seeking the spotlight. John silenced it with a look. Certain decisions unfolded naturally. Remember to show your support by leaving a like and subscribing. The numbers speak for themselves, John. Tony, accompanied by his CFO, pushed the quarterly report across the conference table. Our market value has decreased by 15% since the news of your personal situation came out. 8 executives stood by, anticipating his response, expressions that varied from concern to aggression. John examined the document, feeling keenly the underlying tension. Individual circumstances, John reiterated. Does this refer to my sons? Patricia de Legal interjected, noting that the timing is quite unfortunate. My sons are not victims of bad timing. John's voice was unwavering. What's the next item on the agenda? Tony maintained that there was no subsequent point. This is the core of the issue. Over the past 2 months, there have been 6 important meetings that you have failed to attend. The media is creating narratives surrounding leadership turmoil. Investors are feeling anxious. So, they should feel anxious? John rose. The meeting is concluded. We are not done with this yet, Patricia insisted. Yes, we are. A parent-teacher conference is scheduled for 3 o'clock. The boardroom erupted into chaos. John had barely made it halfway to the door when Tony's voice rang out, stopping him in his tracks. The board is contemplating a vote of no confidence. John paused and turned slowly. You created this company, Tony continued, but recently you seem to be focusing more on building something different. A home, a distraction. John returned to the table, resting both hands on its gleaming surface. Allow me to clarify. The importance of the technological vision resonates deeply with me. However, if you force me to decide between my role here and my children, the outcome will not be to your liking. Are you insinuating something threatening? Is it a commitment? John adjusted his posture. I hold the majority of the shares. With a single phone call, I can dismantle this board. Patricia fidgeted with her papers, a touch of anxiety in her demeanor. That would completely collapse the stock, so please don't put me in a position to decide. Inside his vehicle, John loosened his tie and let out a deep sigh. His phone showed 3 missed calls from investors, 2 from the public relations team, and 1 from Sarah. He returned Sarah's call. How was the meeting? More or less what I anticipated. How are the kids? Eager to reveal their grades. Even David got an A in math. John smiled, feeling the tension from the boardroom begin to dissipate. Inform them I'm on my way. Upon arriving at Sarah's house, he was met with a whirlwind of disorder. Michael delving into the complexities of a chess strategy, while Thomas focused intently on debugging code, and David delving into the fascinating world of quantum mechanics. Dad, Thomas approached. Could you assist me in resolving this loop problem? Once he elucidated the dual nature of photons as particles and waves, David interjected. Upon witnessing my new chess opening, Michael responded with a counter-move. John was engulfed in a wave of emotions, and it was a beautiful experience. Once again, his phone vibrated with a notification. A new turmoil arose at Technovision, another board member seeking the spotlight. John shut it off. "Show me the code," he directed to Thomas. Michael and David snuggled in, their foreheads bent over the laptop. This, John understood, was the true essence of success. Remember to show your support by leaving a like and subscribing. Mr. Martin, with respect to the shares you handed over to your sons, the board has decided to implement a freeze on them. Patricia shared the news in John's office, a space where family photos had come to overshadow business awards. What are the reasons? Cognitive capacity. John's laugh was chilling. They truly think that fatherhood makes me incapable. Is it really wise to give 3 10-year-olds 40% of a tech giant? That seems like a questionable decision. His phone vibrated. Sarah. "John, David is not feeling well. Fever. He's asking for you." The old John would have dispatched his driver with the best Dr. Wealth could arrange. The new John had already begun to put on his jacket. "This meeting is not over," Patricia insisted. "Yes, it is." In the quietness of Sarah's home, David rested on the bed, his face surprisingly pale. Michael and Thomas lingered with a sense of unease. "Dad," David's voice was just a whisper. "Could you explain quantum entanglement at this moment? I am having difficulty concentrating on my book." John settled on the bed, pulling his son in tightly. "Imagine it as you three. Regardless of the distance between you, the particles remain entangled, just as Michael has an uncanny ability to sense when Thomas is in trouble, or how David completes our thoughts," Thomas commented, climbing aboard. "Exactly." John touched David's forehead, which was hot to the touch. "It's known as spooky action at a distance. Just like Mom, she always knew you would show up," Michael said softly. Sarah arrived with medicine in her hand. 40 degrees. We have to take him to the hospital." "I'll call my—" Sarah interrupted. "No private hospitals. There will be no preferential treatment. You must confront reality, John." In the emergency room they sat in anticipation, just like any other family. David rested peacefully against John's chest, while Michael and Thomas played soft, quiet games on either side. His phone exploded with a flurry of messages. The board convenes for an urgent session. Stocks continue to dwindle. Victoria, discussing her struggles in interviews. John silenced the throng, focusing on David's breathing. "You don't need to stay," Sarah said softly. "I am aware that there is an ongoing situation at work." John looked at his sleeping son, watching Thomas and Michael fight off sleep to remain close to their brother. "I find myself precisely in the right place." The doctor identified a severe case of the flu, recommending ample rest and hydration as they left the hospital. The first light of dawn illuminated New York. John realized that in his previous existence, he had spent numerous sleepless nights pursuing technological dreams. However, here he is, watching over his sick son, grappling with a sense of powerlessness while simultaneously acknowledging his vital role. "That night was the most challenging and meaningful one of your existence, Dad," David murmured softly as John lifted him into the car. "Are quarks really fundamental particles?" John gave a tired smile. "Do we delve into quantum chromodynamics once you feel better?" "I promise." "Are you sure about that?" His phone vibrated one last time, the definitive alert from the board. John put it away without even looking. Certain conflicts lacked justification. Yes, some were. Remember to show your support by leaving a like and subscribing. "They are trying to push me out," John confided to Sarah over coffee. It had been 3 weeks since David's time in the hospital. The committee, the stakeholders, and even old acquaintances. "Is it because you're prioritizing your children over business? Because I favor anything over organizational management?" John observed from the kitchen window as the boys constructed what they insisted was a quantum computer in the backyard. "They think I'm going through a crisis. And you? What do you think? A potential breakthrough, perhaps?" He chuckled as Thomas, unintentionally, splashed Michael with the garden hose, which prompted an unexpected water battle. Clarity has never been so profound. His phone rang, and Tony's jaw rose once more. John chose not to answer the call. "You can't evade them indefinitely," Sarah said softly. "Look at me, Dad," David shouted from the backyard. "Thomas added that we need your help with the quantum entanglement simulation and the neural network. Mom mentioned that you agreed to share your insights on venture capital with us," and Michael pointed out. John rose, but Sarah gripped his arm firmly. "They are concerned about the possibility of losing you once more. Could you clarify what you mean? Every time your phone rings, they think you will choose the company as it was before." Just as John was about to respond, Patricia and Tony emerged at Sarah's back door. "John, this has gone on long enough," Tony began. "It is not acceptable to simply vanish from the entire board," Patricia emphasized. "Indeed, I am capable of that. John went to be with his sons. I have a lot on my agenda right now. The shareholders are demanding your resignation. Then allow them to do so." John pointed to his sons, who watched the confrontation with matching looks of concern. "Your legacy resides in this very moment. 3 exceptional boys who deserve a father far more than Technovision deserves a CEO. Are you truly willing to sacrifice everything you created?" Tony insisted. John observed Michael's defensive stance, Thomas's defiant gaze, and David's shrewd expression. "I have nothing to lose. I am acquiring everything I desire." "The company is doomed to fail," Patricia warned. John smiled, shaking his head. "It most certainly will not, as my sons have just shown me how to save it." All eyes were on John as he grabbed his phone, finally answering one of Tony's countless calls. "Organize an urgent board meeting for tomorrow morning. I have an idea to share. Remember to show your support by leaving a like and subscribing." Every day, Michael proclaimed that they would not give up. "There is always a way forward," Thomas asserted. David highlighted that statistics can be misleading. John wrote his thoughts during the long nights of sleeplessness, when discomfort refused to let him sleep. "Do you recall the day we constructed that volcano? Is this your first robotics competition? Do you recall that time you attempted to breach the security of my phone?" Each memory is a treasure, each moment immortalized on the page. He made quick sketches in the margins, illustrations representing chess maneuvers, coding algorithms, logical demonstrations in mathematics, graphs that led to hidden truths that he had unearthed only after the moment had passed. Above all, he wrote in every book, "Bear in mind that true success is not quantified by money or accomplishments. It is quantified in moments like this." The volumes of the journals expanded in size. His hands became shakier, however. The words flowed unceasingly, destined for his sons, his future, and all the dialogues that would remain unspoken. His phone vibrated with notifications from doctors, specialists, and board members. He disregarded them all. Time had become his most valuable asset, and he was acutely aware of how to allocate it wisely. "Dad?" Michael peeked in. "We're in the process of building a quantum neural network. Want to assist us?" John closed the journals. A smile broke through his fatigue. "By all means." Some legacies could not be written. They had to be experienced. Remember to show your support by leaving a like and subscribing. "Are you ready for this?" Sarah offered to assist John in straightening his tie. He felt her touch lightly, conserving its strength. 3 months had passed since the diagnosis. Today marked Michael's second foray into the world of robotics competition. His team had made it to the finals. Sarah continued saying that the kids were already there. Is Michael feeling anxious? He really shouldn't be. John managed a smile. He's exceptionally talented. The atmosphere in the school gymnasium was electric with anticipation. John quickly spotted his sons. Three golden-haired figures were huddled together, focused intently on fine-tuning a robot. "Dad!" They ran to him, enveloping him in a gentle hug. They had grown increasingly vigilant since their earlier visit to the hospital. "How is our champion?" John asked Michael. "The servomotors are failing," Thomas informed, cutting off Michael before he could respond. "Calculations? The calculations are impeccable," David commented. John examined the intricate design of their robot. "Show me." They collaborated closely, their brows furrowed over the circuits and the code as they had in the past. John's hands trembled excessively. However, his mind remained sharp and alert. He gestured in that direction. "The connection seems to be loose." Thomas resolved the issue promptly. The machine sprang to life with a gentle hum. 2 minutes until we start," the announcer declared. "Mom?" Michael had a look of concern. "Is it possible for Dad to stay until the end?" Sarah shot a fleeting glance at John. Both were aware that he should be taking a rest. John proclaimed that not even wild horses could tear him away. The rivalry was intense. Michael's team progressed in every round with determination. John observed his son navigating life with confidence, embracing challenges with composure, and acknowledging accomplishments with modesty. In the final round, their robot executed its tasks with impeccable precision. As Michael's team emerged victorious, John let out the loudest shout. His enthusiasm shone through, despite his weaknesses. "We did it!" Michael ran to his parents, gripping the trophy tightly. "You did it, Dad!" "You did it," John said softly. "Each and every one of you." Later at home, John watched his son revel in the joy. Sarah looked him in the eye, catching the significance behind his gaze. "Just one." Without a hint of hesitation, she murmured, "Only one." He watched the kids share laughs, with no additional time. "You gave them everything they needed." John reflected on the journals that awaited him at home, filled with lessons, memories, and the love that had poured onto those pages. "Almost everything," he murmured, watching his son's towering presence, Thomas's creative spirit, David's insightful perspective. John realized that Sarah's words held truth. They would be fine. They represented his legacy, his culminating achievement, his impeccable creation. Once the kids had fallen asleep that night, John took time to contribute to his journals. "Today I watched you guide your team to triumph, Michael, not through coercion or intimidation, but by fostering understanding and igniting motivation. You possess a remarkable talent, my son, a unique ability to inspire greatness in those around you. Use it with care." For Thomas, your approach to the servomotor problem today was exceptional. What truly stood out was your ability to take a step back and allow your brother to take center stage. True innovation transcends mere technology. It involves creating opportunities for others to prosper. For David, I realized that you were mentally charting trajectories throughout the competition, offering a silent support more vital to your brothers. It is clear that often the most significant impacts are those that go unnoticed. Always cherish that insight. His hands trembled with more intensity now. The writing was nearly illegible. However, he needed to complete it. Today was about more than simply securing a victory in a competition for the three of them. It was about collaboration, about lifting one another up, and about rejoicing as a unified family. Hold on to this feeling. It has a value greater than any accolade or market figure. I will miss your graduations, your first dates, and your future triumphs. But I will be in the stories you create, in the challenges you overcome, in the ways you support one another. For years, I dedicated myself to creating a technological vision, believing it would define my legacy. I acknowledge my mistake. Your brilliance, your kindness, and the connection you share are the essence of my true legacy. With all my love, Dad. Love. His phone chimed. Yet another clinical trial promised an empty optimism. John chose to pass it by. From his vantage point by the window, he watched his sons in their treehouse, plotting with enthusiasm their next project. Their voices drifted up to him softly. By modifying the AI algorithm with principles of quantum entanglement and optimizing the neural network. John smiled. They were his finest creation, operating seamlessly, self-correcting, evolving with each passing day. Certain programs are destined to endure beyond their creator's vision. Remember to show your support by leaving a like and subscribing. Sarah found herself in the familiar backyard, observing three 15-year-olds huddled around their laptops. The treehouse that John began building 5 years prior was now complete, serving as their coding headquarters. "Mom!" Thomas shouted from up above. "We've uncovered another one!" She climbed up with caution, crouching to get past the sign that read, "The Martin Brothers Tech Lab." Inside the space, 3 matching smiles greeted her. Michael gestured to his screen, hidden within their father's old code. It was another Easter egg, one of many that John had hidden within Technovision's code before his passing. My dear boys, if you are seeing this, you have already achieved more than I ever imagined possible. Not because of what you've created, but because of the person you have become. Bear in mind that the most intricate equation is love. The most difficult flaw to address is arrogance. The truest innovation lies in the power of kindness. The ideal code is kinship. I once believed my mark on the world would be a grand empire. Instead, it is 3 hearts beating in perfect harmony. 3 intellects tackling the most significant problems humanity faces. 3 spirits who demonstrate that accomplishment devoid of affection is merely defeat in disguise. Continue to create your code. Continue to show your compassion. Continue to have faith. And bear in mind that the strongest bond ever created is the love shared between siblings. Always a problem solver. Dad. Sarah settled in with them, watching the sun dip below the New York skyline. Technovision's emblem continued to soar above the skyline. However, it now represented a more profound significance: the affection of a father, the perceptiveness of a mother. 3 brothers united. True wealth is not counted in billions, but in the moments we cherish and the lives we impact. Ethical lesson. Sometimes life's most significant setbacks pave the way for our most profound triumphs. Sometimes our meticulously crafted strategies require a total overhaul. Sometimes the legacy we think we are creating may not be what holds the most significance. Ultimately, the only message that holds true meaning is the one that is inscribed within our hearts. The essence of love, of family, and the connection that transcends the limitations of any technological creation. This marked the culmination of John Martin's creative journey, his impeccable code. 3 sons who realized that accomplishment devoid of affection is merely digits on a screen. However, boundless love has the power to transform the world, and that is a program that deserves eternal execution.